Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit mendoready.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag. Each member of your family should have their own go bag. Visit our website, mendoready.org, to get a list of items that should be in your go bag.
Gathering and organizing important documents before an emergency is an important part of preparedness. So visit mendoready.org today, where you can find a list of important documents that you should have ready near your go bag in case you have to evacuate.
Not every emergency requires people to evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, mendoready.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
A beautiful, clean river doesn't start here. It starts here.
December 1st,
What we put
and I'd
down.
like to welcome you to the Mendocino Council of Governments meeting. Jody, could you call roll?
Yes. Director Raffanan?
Here.
Director Klein? Here. Director Alanis?
Here.
Director Hansen? Jeff? Oh, there you go. Okay. Director Carter?
Here.
Director Chris? Here. Caltrans Tasha Alstrand?
Here.
And Chair Haschek.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, and I'd like Director Carter to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and for all.
Thank you, Director Carter. Let's see. Number 2 is Assembly Bill 2449, Notifications and Considerations. Do we have any report?
We have not received any requests.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director, Nephili Barrett, to honor outgoing board member Michael Carter.
Yes, thank you. So we are sad to say that this will be Director Carter's last MCOG board meeting. He has been on our board for 10 years and will be very missed. And we really, I know I speak for all of MCOG staff when I say how much we appreciate you. You are always so kind and courteous, and we always really appreciate that we know you've actually read the things that we've written, which is nice. Sometimes you tell us when we've made a mistake that is helpful to know, but it's also just nice to know that you are really dedicated to your position as a board member. And so we will really miss you. And thank you for your time serving on the board. And we do have a proclamation or a certificate that I would like to read. In recognition of Michael G. Carter, on behalf of MCOG, we offer our deepest appreciation for your many years of dedicated service on the Board of Directors. From your start as an alternate in February 2014 to your terms as a regular member from August 2019 through December 2020, and again from January 2022 through December 2025, you have given your time, energy, and expertise with unwavering commitment. We are especially grateful for your leadership as Vice Chair, your thoughtful work on the Executive and Transit Productivity Committees, and your remarkable consistency in reading every board packet and attending every meeting, whether or not you were voting. Your reliability, attention to detail, and genuine care for the region's transportation needs have made a meaningful and lasting difference. Thank you for all you have contributed. We wish you joy, fulfillment, and every happiness in your retirement. So, thank you, Director Carter, for your time.
And we're, here we can move.
Yeah.
You're in the center.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. I stepped out of the way. Thank you. Yeah, our longest serving board member. So thank you very much.
And I'd just like to thank Director Carter for being totally committed to public service throughout his career before moving to Mendocino County and in Mendocino County, where he's been engaged in so many community activities, MCOG just being one of them. Thank you very much for your service and best wishes. Right. With that, and thank you, Robin, too, for putting up with all of his time doing community activities. So we're going to convene as a RTPA. Now we're going to recess as a RTPA and reconvene as a Policy Advisory Committee. Okay, we're going to go to the consent calendar. Are there any polls or questions about the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none.
I'll just say it was nice to finish up that whole records management scheme because it's been sitting on the back burner and we've been chipping away at it for years, and it's nice to sort of get that wrapped up. So.
All right, are there any public comments about the consent calendar? Seeing none in the chambers, any online? All right. We'll look for a motion.
Yep, Chair, I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Director Raffernan?
Yes.
Director Klein? Aye. Director Alanis?
Yes.
Director Hansen? Director Carter?
Yes.
Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Alstrand?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to public expression. Any public expression for items not on the agenda in the chambers? Seeing none. Any online? Anne Marie.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just have a clarifying question. I want to make a comment, and I don't know if I need to make that under agenda items 13 or 14. It has to do with including Mendocino Railway as on the transportation plan.
Okay, I think that would be item 14.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, Mary Rose.
Hi there. I had a question also. I wanted to make some comments about transportation models, and I don't know if that goes under an agenda item.
If it is, we don't have an item on the agenda regarding transportation models. So if it's not regarding the regional transportation plan or regional transportation improvement program, you could go ahead and make those comments now under public expression.
Okay, I guess I'll make those comments now. There's a lot of rural towns and cities around California that are using visitor focus shuttles. They're small towns. They use free, low-cost fare transit to encourage use by both locals and visitors. It reduces parking, traffic pressure at beaches, trails, attractions. And there is a lot of models that exist. I'd be happy to send you quite a few of them. They're not big cities. They're small cities like Half Moon Bay, Pismo Beach, some in Sonoma. And also there's a problem for workers. Many service sector and hospitality workers struggle with transportation. There's limited parking, long distances between Cleone, Casper, Albion, Little River. There is hours that are not available for workers. And I bring this up, I have brought this up every year to this MCOG board. And I'm just hoping that somehow one of you would be in touch with me where I could provide some of these. We could have done this 5 or 10 years ago, start looking at the possibilities, start small, start seasonal, and we could have had this moving through the coast. And I'm just not understanding why this isn't discussed. I've attended some MCOG town halls, and we keep hearing that, oh, there's no money, our bus system is MTA is not able to do this. We have a exploding senior population that needs to not be in their cars and to be able to access public transportation when there is meetings at night, where there's all kind of events to be plugged into the community at night, whether it's at the library, whether it's First Friday, whether it's concerts, whether it's movies. This is a disrespect to seniors. They need to age in place in a community that really cares about how they get around. So I hope you take all this into consideration. And yes, I've been saying this at least once a year to you all. And, can we put a team together to work on this? To make it tourist friendly and senior friendly, and to get workers to their jobs, because the high cost of transportation and commuting to work is just getting really expensive. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Okay, seeing no further public expression, we will move on to the regular calendar. We're going to take this a little bit out of order. We're going to go to the public hearing number 13. And this is a technical advisory committee recommendation of November 19, 2025. Okay. So, good afternoon.
To consider the RTIP for adoption. A resolution has been prepared. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm loud, so I thought that it would travel.
And like we say in the board, state your name for the record.
Hector Ortega, project analyst for Mendocino Council of Governments. At this time, I'm here to ask the board to consider the RTIP for adoption. A resolution has been prepared which reflects the TAC recommendation. Following the adoption of the RTIP, it will be forwarded to Caltrans and the CTC, or California Transportation Commission, prior to the December 15th due date, along with any other additional project documentation that's required. So at this time, I ask that you make a finding that there was proper notice of the meeting, that proper notice of the meeting was provided. The notice was published in the Ukiah Daily Journal on November 21st of 2025.
All right, are there any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Any online from the board? Seeing none. Okay, any public comment? Seeing none in the chambers, any online? Okay, we will go back to the board for a motion,
Yes, sir.
right? Now,
Move approval.
of the recommended action, right? Okay,
I will second.
very good. Okay, so can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Raffanan?
Yes.
Director Klein? Aye. Director Alanis?
Yes.
Director Hansen? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Director Carter?
Yes.
Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Osran?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, and we will go on to number 14, which is a public hearing, which is the 2026 Mendocino County Regional Transportation Plan, an active transportation plan.
Good afternoon, Board. So today we are looking to consider and approve the negative declaration, which is the CEQA document for the 2026 Regional Transportation and Active Transportation Plan. And then the public hearing would be for both the CEQA document and for the plan itself. And then we are planning on adoption in February. So at this time, notice was put out on October 24th, 2025 in the Ukiah Daily Journal because CEQA requires a 30-day notice period. So they've had ample time for that. And now before we open the public hearing, we have received some public comments specific to the rail element. In summary, we received so some of them are in favor of keeping the rail element in there and making it stronger, and then a lot of them are in favor of either modifying what is there or removing it. What is currently in there, we felt, is a good compromise that shows the current benefits of the railway system within the county, and then it leaves open the opportunity to, for future changes, in terms of where rail is going in its current state in the county. This is a living document. It's updated every 4 years. So if things change in either direction, we can modify the rail element as appropriate. So I just wanted to bring that up because I believe you guys received all of the comments as well. So, or some of them anyway.
Hey, very good. Yeah, that certainly is the one that we received the comments on. So thank you for that. Okay, so I will open the public hearing. Okay, any public comments in the chambers?
Good afternoon, board members and staff. My name is Robert Pinoli. I'm the president of Mendocino Railway. And I want to thank the folks for the work that you do every couple of years on the Regional Transportation Plan. As noted in the letter, I think you do a complete disservice to both the citizens of Mendocino County and to what the facts are. Mendocino Railway, since 2004 and all times, has been a regulated Class 3 common carrier under the STB's jurisdiction. And you may hear from some others today online, contrary to the fact, but their comments are not based in fact. Mendocino Railway, the skunk train, is not an excursion railroad exclusively. The facts are out there. They say something very different, and to ignore that is completely short-sighted by this organization. The lack of federal funds that could come into this county for our regional transportation needs. Take the skunk train out of the picture. Focus on the rail corridor on the inland side of this county. You're permanently subscribing that all goods and services come in and out of this county by highway. There is nothing environmentally friendly about that. And the notion that you sort of dismiss rail or don't put any effort into an infrastructure that's already there is really very shameful. Mendocino County is isolated, it's rural, it needs good jobs for people on the inland corridor. And if you can solve the logistical challenge of getting goods and services in and out of our county in a far more efficient fashion, I think you've solved a lot of problems. So while you're here today to accept the plan as it's written, just know that the plan is not factually correct. And we've submitted comments pursuant to the requests made by the agency. We've even provided a red line document where we've called out some of the very good things that MCOG has done. But the report is not factually correct. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Any other comments from the chambers? Okay, seeing none, we'll go online. Peter McNamee. Mr. McNamee.
Okay, I wasn't sure whether I was unmuted or not. You've received my long letter, which articulated, based on several studies, why rail in Mendocino County is not economically viable, and why the Mendocino Railway and the skunk train are not transportation. I think that the thing that MCOG should keep in mind is that in order for this plan to be useful and to be viable and credible as a plan, it needs to be accurate. And in that context, calling Mendocino Railway a transportation form is like calling the racetrack at the Redwood Empire Fairgrounds transportation. It's an amusement. It's an entertainment. It doesn't take people from one location to another location. It's not point-to-point transportation for either people or freight. And I would suggest that dropping rail from the plan is probably the best option for MCOG altogether, simply because at one time in our history, rail was an important mechanism for transportation in Mendocino County. But that was a time when we were almost exclusively an extraction economy, and the purpose of those rails was to move lumber and timber in and out of our county. Today, that's just not the case. We're a tourist economy, and we don't have the freight to support a rail system in this county, and we never will. That's just the way it is. Things change, and I think that it's not harmless to continue this fiction to divert state and federal monies from important, needed public services and goods to benefit a private excursion train amusement ride. That's just not acceptable form of government. And I would appeal to you on those grounds to exclude Mendocino Railway and rail from this plan. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Mary Rose.
Thank you. First of all, I want to emphasize that the skunk train as a tourist and railway rail bikes facility in the short runs are really important to the economy of the city of Fort Bragg. I had worked for the skunk train in the past on and off. What I'm not happy about is Mendocino Railway evolved somehow to naming itself, misnaming itself, I should say, and repeatedly claimed that it is a common carrier railroad and therefore a public utility with eminent domain authority. However, state and local agencies, including the City of Fort Bragg, California Coastal Commission, have rejected these claims, asserting that the company must comply with local and state permitting requirements like any other private developer. Courts have rejected their eminent domain claims, and I sent you a document that highlights all of the court decisions, not my personal opinion. So for all the reasons that I submitted in those 4 pages, I'm asking MCOG to remove Mendocino Railway skunk train from any transportation plan, including the Interregional Transportation Improvements Program. Doing so will help ensure that public transportation policy is based on accurate information, lawful status, and realistic feasibility, not on unsupported claims. And with all this cadre of legal back and forth, it puts MCOG and all the actors and stakeholders in a risk. And we don't need that risk of the money going to fighting in the courts. And that's what has happened in the past. And I think it's a waste of money because agencies, the city, have to spend money fighting for the rule of law. Well, the Mendocino Railway keeps trumping it. And also, consider just because you have railroad tracks doesn't mean they're in good shape, as I pointed out in my document. To get qualified geotechnical engineering status on some of these tracks, who's going to pay for that? And this is a pipe dream. And I'm looking at Cloverdale, Petaluma, Larkspur. Why aren't they using their tracks for FedEx, for Amazon? Nobody's doing that. It's not realistic. The transportation needs of the our century is not rail. And I hate to see us living in a backward economy and going to something that's not going to work.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Before we go to the next speaker, I just do want to mention, we did the document that Mary Rose was referring to, we received by email yesterday. We had intended to read that into the record, but Mary Rose has had her 3 minutes public expression on the item, and so we'll just, but we will go ahead and enter the 3-page document into the record.
Okay, thank you. And at this point, Director Carter, do you need to leave?
One question. Does that mean my document will be submitted to each of the board members? Thank you.
It will be attached so that we can receive it?
Yeah, it'll be added to the agenda documents, so they will all have access to that.
Thank you so much.
Director
Carter, do you need one question. Does that mean my document will be submitted to each of the board members?
Be attached so that we can receive it?
Sorry, Liz Helenchild, I see you've got your hand up. I think we're getting an echo from you, so you might need to mute. Thank you. And then if you want to make public comment, I think we've got one more person or 2 more people that have hands up already. Okay.
All right. And at this point, we're going to note that Director Carter is leaving. All right, so best wishes. Okay. Bye, Robin. Okay.
It's your turn.
Anne Marie, are you able to hear us? And would you like to make your comment now?
Yes, thank you. I support what was said so far by Peter McNamee and Mary Rose Kosovarski, and I read what they submitted. And Peter McNamee submitted a letter on August 22nd to you, 5 pages. It was responded to by Robert Pinoli, 3 pages. I read those, and I agree with Mr. McNamee's letter. I just this morning read an article by Elise Cox, and it says California Attorney General Rob Bonta has filed a petition asking the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn a federal ruling affirming Mendocino Railway as a Class 3 rail carrier under exclusive federal jurisdiction. So the Coastal Commission also says that the Surface Transportation Board failed to weigh interstate commerce link. And Elise Cox's articles goes on to say, at the heart of the California Coastal Commission's challenge is whether Mendocino Railway provides transportation as part of the interstate rail network. The Commission argues the Surface Transportation Board failed to adequately address that question. The Coastal Commission contends that Mendocino Railway's operations are confined to Mendocino County and that its only physical connection to the interstate rail system has been inactive for more than 25 years. The Coastal Commission has previously argued the company has not shown evidence of hauling freight or carrying non-excursion or non-local passengers in the 2 decades since it acquired the line. Even if some freight movements occurred, the Commission says they were too minimal to constitute interstate commerce. And I can send you the link for that article. I also want to support what was said by Mr. McNamee and Mary Rose Kosovarski. Please drop the rail. Please exclude Mendocino Railway from your plan. Please remove it. You mentioned this is a living document. But if you're adopting this now, we're stuck with this for the next 4 years, and they clearly do not qualify as a Class 3 rail carrier. And the money could be spent on fixing our roads that the county has no money for, that are in horrible condition, and could be going to issues like Mary Rose Kosovarski mentioned earlier about transportation that's so dearly needed for...
Okay, Anne Marie?
Yes.
Yes. Could you wrap it up, please?
I'm wrapping up by saying, please exclude, remove Mendocino Railway from your plan. Drop it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, George Reinhardt.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity to speak, and thank you, MCOG, for doing this. This kind of long-term planning is so important for our county, because this really is how we both express our priorities and raise money to fulfill those. Now, I think that Anne Marie and Mary Rose and Peter have done a terrific job. And I basically support everything they're saying. I really can understand why it might be in there a little bit, the railroad, because it does have this function as a tourist draw for our community, and there is a certain economic development piece to this. I'm just curious why Robert is so snitty about all this. He gets so upset. And, you know, it's kind of fascinating, because it's almost like the advocates for the railroad feel that just being really assertive is going to overcome the actual facts of the case. He says he has the facts on his side, but I don't think he actually does. And the reality is we have a tourist operation, and we should not be talking about this in fanciful terms of how it's really supplying both freight and passenger service between Fort Bragg and Willits. It hasn't for many, many years, and there's no intention. I mean, basically, in my opinion, the railroad folks are here stretching the bounds of legality a lot. I mean, this whole question of eminent domain is an absurd one, and so here you're in jeopardy of making an assertion that helps them pursue whatever their aims are, but it's not really bettering the transportation for our community. I would say it's very, very confusing to have Robert get up there and get all sort of upset about stuff, but not really deliver any facts or any points of reference that we can. He says the facts are on his side, but I don't think so. So I would support the three people who preceded me. If that's the only option, I would also say leaving some mention of it as a tourist operation is fine with me, because I think that's the reality we're dealing with. And thank you so much for the work you're doing. MCOG is an important entity, and I really like those comments that Mary Rose made earlier. We need to have inexpensive electric shuttle transportation. We have huge investment has gone into the Pine Beach Inn just north of town. We should have regular buses going back and forth there so a tourist can land at the Pine Beach Inn and go right into town and enjoy the town. Thank you very much for this opportunity to make comments.
Okay, thank you. All right. Liz, you're muted. You're still muted. Okay. We can't hear you.
Liz, you're on mute. You're muted.
You're on mute, Liz.
Liz, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. I'm sorry I'd have this, all these conflicting windows. I would refer you to Elise Cox's latest article. That has been cited by the previous speakers. I consider Mendocino, the skunk train is cute and all that, but that's all it is. It's a tourist attraction. It is not a real carrier, and I think you cannot take it seriously as that. If you give me a sec, I will try to reference the journalism that that has been referred to, Elise Cox's article about Bonta challenging the whole thing, which will probably blow away the entire Pinoli testimony, which will probably make it moot and useless, and you won't have to deal with it. But I'm trying to find the citation here.
Which is nice.
Can any of y'all help me about that? I'm just, I'm lost in cyberspace here.
No, but just tell us the gist of it. I think.
So we'll really miss you.
That's
Okay.
what you've been doing, right?
Thanks for your
Yes. Okay.
have a proclamation, certificate it that I would like to.
Hold on just one moment. I know the clock is ticking and I am madly clicking. So
Service on the board of directors. From your start as an alternate and
anyway, I agree with the previous testimony, and please check out the coverage by Elise Cox on local news channels, if you will, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm about to, okay, got it. Anyway, from Mendo Local, Elise Cox. This is her Substack. California Attorney General Bob Bonta has filed a petition asking the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn a federal ruling affirming Mendocino Railway is a Class 3 rail carrier under exclusive federal jurisdiction. Mendocino Railway President Robert Pinoli did not respond to a request for comments. The petition filed November 25th on behalf of the California Coastal Commission seeks a review of September 26 Surface Transportation Board decision confirming the railway's carrier status and extending it to the protections of federal government. Those protections can limit liability of state and local government to enforce requirements that conflict with federal rules on rail operations or track constructions. So that is from Elise Cox from Mendo Local. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments online?
I put the link to the article in the chat. So
right, we saw that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jody? Okay, all right, so we'll come back to the board. We're going to close the public hearing.
Oh, sorry, we do have one additional that we received via email that James is going to summarize for the public testimony record.
So this was an email received from Crispin Hollinshead, and he is essentially saying that they are not, that Mendocino Railway is not a common carrier railroad, hasn't been since 1993, and that they're a tourist passenger service from Fort Bragg to Willits, but that ended with the tunnel collapse, so they go from each side in. And that's the summary of that, and it'll be included in the public record.
Will the link to the article by Elise Cox be included in the public record?
Yeah, it's not something that we would typically do, but her reference, Liz's statement about that will be part of the public record. It'll be in the meeting recording that refers to that, but the article itself would not be included.
Can you include the link?
No, that's not something that we would typically include in, right. It's not something that we would include with the meeting records.
I also refer to that article.
Okay. People know where to find that. And, okay. All right, so we will consider approval of a negative declaration. So we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second. Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Director Raffanan?
Yes.
Director Klein? Aye. Director Alanis? Yes. Director Hansen? Director Hansen? Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Allstrand,
Yes.
and Chair Haschek.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and we will continue adoption of the 2026 Regional Transportation Plan and Active Transportation Plan to the February 2nd, 2026 MCOG Board meeting. Okay. So, those are the two actions that we've taken on that today. Right, and thank you everyone for your public comments.
Yes, thank you. May I suggest that we now, rather than jumping back to the top of regular calendar, we move to item 12 because we do have the consultants that are waiting to make their presentation.
Okay, very good. So item 12.
Really quick. Can I say something real quick? In the future,
No.
can you make it sure that the chat
No, I'm
notes
sorry,
Oh.
this is not time for public comment.
Okay. So we're on item 12, which is presentation of the voter opinion polling and assessment for unincorporated Mendocino County.
Good morning, board. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Villa. I am a regional project coordinator for the Mendocino Council of Governments. Now, we do have a presentation from FM3 to discuss the results of the survey for a voter opinion polling effort for the transportation sales tax measure. But before we do that, I do want to get into a little bit of the background. Back in 2002, Mendocino Council of Governments sponsored a polling effort to determine public support for a transportation sales tax measure in Mendocino County, as well as all the incorporated cities within the county. Based on the results of that effort, we had the city of Willits, city of Fort Bragg, and city of Point Arena that successfully passed a transportation sales tax measure. Another polling effort was conducted in 2015 for the city of Ukiah, as well as the unincorporated areas of Mendocino County, where the city of Ukiah successfully passed a transportation sales tax measure, which left the county as the sole agency without a measure. Now, every 3 to 4 years, MCOG contracts a consultant to conduct a pavement management program update. Now, what this does is it evaluates the road network within each jurisdiction. Now, each jurisdiction that had a successful sales tax measure showed a significant increase in their PCI, which is the pavement condition index. And if you look at the county's final report for the PMP update, it has been staying at 46, which is considered poor. And then you pair that with the rise of construction and material costs, and with the very little funding available, it's not going to be good for county roads. Now, at the request of the Mendocino County Department of Transportation, MCOG staff initiated another voter opinion polling effort to determine current voter support for a potential sales tax measure within just the unincorporated areas of Mendocino County. Using partnership funding from the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, MCOG contracted with FM3 to conduct the project. The survey was developed collaboratively with MCOG staff, the consultant, and county staff as well. Additionally, County Council also reviewed and provided guidance to ensure the survey language was appropriate and aligned with legal and procedural requirements. The consultant has completed the data collection, which include over 600 surveys representing voters in the unincorporated areas. Now I'd like to introduce Lucia with FM3. Hope I said that right, pronounced it right.
Great, thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today to walk through the findings of our survey. I will go ahead and share my screen, and then we have kind of a brief presentation walking through the results. As Michael noted, this is a survey that was just conducted recently in late October, early November, and we spoke to a representative sample of voters in the unincorporated areas of Mendocino County. Just quickly before I dive into the findings, I'll talk through some of our methodology. So we pulled a random sample of likely November 2026 voters in the unincorporated areas and contacted 660 voters. This is, again, we set quotas to represent the likely electorate in the region. The margin of error is 4% at the 95% confidence interval. And in the places where we split sample the questions, so maybe half the sample heard one version and half the sample heard another version, the margin of error is 5.5% or 5.7%. This was a dual mode survey, which means that the interviews were conducted online and via phone. Outreach for the phone calls was done to cell phones and landlines. Outreach for the online interviews was done via email invitation and text message invitation. Our firm actually did some research in Mendocino County on this issue back in 2002, so we do have some comparisons to that data, although it was quite some time ago now. Key organizations in public life. So we asked them if they viewed each of these as very favorable, somewhat unfavorable, or very unfavorable. They've never heard of them or had no opinion. And these were asked in a random order. And what we saw was that 2/3 of voters expressed a favorable opinion of Caltrans. Only 21% had an unfavorable opinion. When it came to the Mendocino County Department of Transportation, views were net favorable, with 47% favorable to 25% unfavorable. About 1/3 didn't really have an opinion, or just under 1/3 of the county department, but it was net positive there. When it came to county government, views were net negative, with 52% unfavorable to 31% favorable. And similarly with the Board of Supervisors, it was 50% unfavorable to 30% favorable. We also asked folks about the direction of the county and how they felt, if they felt like things were headed in the right direction or off on the wrong track. And what we saw was a lot more pessimism than when we last did a survey in the area on this issue many years ago. And what we saw was that 43% said the county is off on the wrong track. Only 27% say things are headed in the right direction. And about 1/3 said they don't know, or kind of mixed feeling. We did ask folks about the most serious problems facing Mendocino County, and we asked them whether they felt like each of these was extremely serious, very serious, somewhat serious, or not too serious. They're ranked here by the percentage who said each of these was extremely or very serious. And again, these were asked in a random order. And what we saw was that homelessness and the availability of good paying jobs for people who want to work were the most serious problems facing the area. 65% said each of these was extremely or very serious. Just over half felt like the condition of local streets and roads was a very serious problem. And just under half felt like waste and inefficiency in local government was extremely or very serious. To a lesser extent, voters told us the quality of local public schools, the amount they pay in taxes, 37% said extremely or very serious, and 29% felt like crime was an extremely or very serious problem. On the next slide here, you'll see items that fewer than 1/3 felt like were extremely or very serious problems. And here we see availability of public transportation, narrow deteriorating bridges, 911 emergency response times, traffic safety, pedestrian safety, traffic congestion, and air pollution. All of these were not seen as hugely urgent problems in the county. However, we did ask about the need for funding for roads in the county and whether they felt like there was a great need, some need, a little need, or no real need for additional funding. And we did see that nearly 3/4 said there was at least some need, and 40% saw a great need. So a lot of intensity there as well about perceived need for funding. So in that context, I want to look at the potential ballot measure that we tested. So this was the ballot language at the top of the slide, or proposed, potential language. And we asked this very early in the survey, and we write it similar to how it would appear on the ballot if it were to kind of proceed to the ballot eventually, to really try and get a clean read on how voters in the area react to it. And what we saw was that 2/3 of likely November voters said that they would support this measure. They said they would vote yes. 29% were opposed, and 5% were undecided. If we take off those lean yes, we're at 61% yes. So of yes is really kind of 62
Lucia,
to 70.
you froze up for a second, so if you could repeat the last 30 seconds.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm so sorry. I am in my office, but maybe the connection is a little unstable. So what I was just saying was that we test the language, just as we, want to kind of get a realistic read, and we ask it pretty early in the survey so that there's not, a lot of questions preceding it to kind of, bias. We want to get kind of a really clean read. And what we saw was that 2/3 initially said they would support it. They said they were a yes. If we look at just the definite and probably yes, so that's a little bit more certain, we're at 61% support, and 29% were opposed overall, and 5% undecided. The margin of error here is 4%. So if you think of that yes range, it's looking like it's 62 to 70% range. And I think it's just helpful to keep in mind, there are some different options of ways to kind of move forward with a measure that we can discuss, but typically, if we're thinking of a 2/3 measure, then it would be, we're starting right at that threshold. We did ask folks in a few words of their own why they would vote yes on the measure. And what we did is we took their open-ended responses and coded those themes out to kind of see if they're, and group them and to quantify them. And what we saw is that the predominant reason that those who were voting yes were motivated by the desire to repair roads and have improvements to infrastructure. To a much lesser extent, we just saw people saying, in general, that it was important. 1 in 10 noted public safety and traffic safety, and 6% felt like it was reasonable. We did the same exercise with those who said they would vote no, and we asked them why they would vote no, and again, coded out their responses thematically. And we saw that nearly 2 in 5 said that the taxes are high enough and we don't need another kind of sales tax. And similarly, that they talked about wasteful spending and don't trust how the funds have been spent. I should say that in many finance measures right now, in this kind of environment we're in statewide, we're seeing these kind of be the main motivators for those who are opposed. But I will say, looking back earlier, there were about half of voters in the unincorporated areas who were worried about waste and efficiency. So just something to keep in mind, that there is some of that sensitivity for folks on this issue. We did see about 1 in 10 saying they were opposed because they say, they haven't really seen any progress, or there's already enough funds. And then to a lesser extent, other comments about roads, enough money being spent on it, depending how the measure would be written. We also explored support for different ways the funds could be used and the different elements of the measure. And we asked
Lucia, you are frozen again.
Oh, darn it.
We can hear you now, but yeah.
Okay. Why don't I go off video, and hopefully that will help. Let me know if I'm still frozen.
No, you're good. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
So you left off at we ask.
Okay, so we asked folks about each of these different potential spending areas and whether they were extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not too important. They're ranked here by the percentage who said each was extremely or very important. And again, these were randomized to prevent any kind of bias by the order. And what we saw was that the things that voters told us were most important for using funds were permanently resurfacing potholes. 78% said that was extremely or very important. And preventing roads from deteriorating further. 70% also said that was very important. Just under 3/4 told us prolonging the life of existing roads in the county was very important. And 7 in 10 said repairing major county roads and repairing storm damage were very important. 2/3 said repairing local streets and roads and raising the county's pavement condition from poor to good. And just under 2/3 said repairing deteriorating bridges was very important, as well as a majority who felt like resurfacing local streets and roads was extremely or very important. As we go further down the list, we see some items that a majority felt were extremely very important and some that tended to kind of rank lower. So majority did say, improving safety on local roads, applying durable service treatments, and improving pedestrian walkways near schools were very important. On the bottom half of this slide, we see things like widening, narrowing bridges, widening local streets and roads, and reducing traffic congestion as ranking lower in importance. And you'll recall that some of those priorities were things that folks didn't really see as big of problems in the community. So it makes sense that they would be less likely to kind of prioritize them as spending areas for a measure. We also asked folks about a series of other potential provisions. And what we saw was that ensuring that the funds are spent locally on the roads and not for any other purpose was something that was really important. 9 and 10 said they would be more likely to support the potential measure if this was included, and 68% said they would be much more likely. And similarly, requiring public disclosure of funds, 68% would be much more likely to support a measure that included this, this accountability mechanism, and 88% would be more likely overall. We also saw broad prioritization of independent annual audits, local control of funds in general, and citizen oversight. But again, ensuring they're locally spent on roads and not any other purpose, and public disclosure of funds were the ones that kind of elicited the most intensity and the most strong feeling from the electorate. Over the course of the survey, we asked folks their position on the measure 3 times. We asked that very early on, as I noted earlier, when 66% told us they would vote yes and 29% said they would vote no. We asked it after a series of positive statements in favor of the measure, in kind of educational statements explaining the importance of the measure, and we saw that 69% said they would vote yes after and we saw that support dropped to 61% yes, to
Lucia,
32%.
sorry, we lost you again for a few seconds. Can you back up a little bit?
Oh, I am so sorry about this. Okay. So I'll back up at, I'll just repeat from the beginning. So we asked support 3 times, and we started at 66% yes to 29% no. After a series of positive educational statements, support grew to 69% yes, 25% no. And then after critical opposition statements, things that kind of might come up against the measure, we saw support drop to 61% yes, 32% no. So there is some fluidity in support for a measure, depending on kind of the information that folks receive. And we'll take a quick look at some of those positive statements, or the things that resonated positively in terms of the measure. And we saw that the measures that were most convincing as reasons to favor this measure were the measures will make the county eligible for millions of dollars in state and federal grant funds. So the idea of matching funds is very important to voters, as is the inclusion of strict accountability provisions. As we saw earlier, we had broad majorities who said they would be more likely to support it if those were included. As we go further down the list, we saw that the 39% said it would be very convincing to know that every city already has a tax measure, and meanwhile, roads in the unincorporated areas are unfunded and deteriorating, and that that Mendocino County has some of the worst roads in California, and over half of the roads have an official rating of poor or failed. So these were the kind of strongest reasons to vote yes on the measure. As we continue further down the list, we see other kind of strong arguments about the deferred maintenance, the personal experience of what it's like to drive on roads that have potholes in them, and the need for repairs, as well as the impacts to emergency response. To a lesser extent, we saw arguments about the current funding levels being insufficient or the need for cuts. Those were not maybe quite as compelling arguments in favor of the measure. And as we look at the overall very convincing and somewhat convincing, we see that a majority saw all of these as convincing overall, but those ones again about accountability and matching funds really elicited the greatest intensity. So I'll quickly wrap up. I think overall we're in an electoral environment where the transportation agencies are viewed very favorably. But folks are kind of a little bit mixed about the direction the county is headed, and there is some concern about homelessness, lack of good local paying jobs, as well as about this tension, right, where half feel like road conditions are a pressing issue, but there's also a little bit of concern about perceived government waste and inefficiency. And some of the other aspects of this issue, whether it's traffic congestion, driver and pedestrian safety, public transit, those were kind of lesser concerns for voters. But all of this aside, there was, a strong sentiment that there is a need for funding to address roads in the county. And when we introduced this idea of a 1 cent 20-year sales tax in the unincorporated area, we saw that support started at 2/3. And while positive arguments help support reach 69%, when folks hear critical statements, support goes below 2/3. So again, we see really the strongest arguments and the strongest priorities for folks being directly around those road repairs and keeping roads in good condition for the future, and really strong importance on that accountability, ensuring that funds are being spent as promised, and matching funds, generating matching funds was something that really resonated as well. And overall, investments on traffic flow and safety, as we saw a moment ago, folks told us were not things they were highly concerned about, and correspondingly were not top priorities for this measure. So in terms of this right now has been as a 2/3 dedicated measure. I know that there are some communities that have explored kind of private citizen initiatives or citizen initiatives where you can have a dedicated tax and have a 50% threshold. And sometimes some communities can also do kind of a general fund measure instead, and try to plan for the funds to best they can to go in the intended purpose. But I think keeping in mind, again, I think those are different avenues that are available and could be explored. But it is really worth highlighting the importance that voters assign to dedicating the funds and having that local control. That was clear and apparent in this data. If the county were to kind of proceed with a 2/3 measure, I think what we see here is kind of really close to the threshold and a really strong need to kind of have non-advocacy communications on how this would generate matching funds, how this would be held accountable, and how the funds would go towards road repair, those direct road repairs that folks told us were most important for them. So I'll stop there, and I have some colleagues on the line too, so they can help out answer questions if my internet is still being a little challenging, and I apologize for those technical difficulties.
All right, Michael?
Are there any, just repeating what Lucia said, do you guys have any questions about anything? I know Howard's here to answer any questions if you guys may have any.
Any questions from the board? Director Klein.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment. I think the information presented today, first off, thank you for that information. Thank you to MCOG for partnering to make that work happen. None of that surprised me, quite frankly. I think that the constituents that I hear from are really interested in seeing road improvements. There's not a lot of concern about road safety except for certain spots where there are, maybe area-specific issues or traffic congestion around like certain school areas. But I think it's pretty clear that people want to see improvements in their roads. And it's a kind of a core government function. And if they need to supplement it, I think we have a good case for that. Other jurisdictions have done so in our county and around our county. And so I'm glad to have this information presented to us. So thank you.
All right. Well, Howard, no, I just wanted to say, hey, you came out looking pretty good.
Better than us.
Better than us, right. So, but I do have a couple questions. One is, what, Lucia, is, was there any effort to educate people on the difference between county roads versus city roads and the state roads?
There was not. I think we just talked about roads in the county in general, so we were not as specific about the different types of roads.
Okay. And So we only ask about the 1 cent. We didn't ask about half a cent or any other options.
Correct, it was just the 1 cent.
Okay. Was there any incentive for the people to answer? Like if you sent out an email, I'm just trying to figure out why a person would answer all those questions on an email. So was there any incentive given to people?
No, there was no incentive. And just to kind of explain how it works, if you get the email, there's a link that takes you to the website where then they can go through the questions. And similarly, if they get a text message, it's not like responding in the text, it's a separate to an optimized website. And the invite on the email actually did kind of include branding to say that this is an official survey done by a local government so that folks felt like they could trust it, because we're in an age where folks get a lot of spam. But we don't provide incentives in order for it to be considered a truly random sample survey. We cannot provide incentives because then that might bias the results. So it takes a lot of outreach and a lot of persistence to make sure we hit our demographic quotas, but that essentially is how we do it.
Okay, so in your expertise, if you're getting these surveys, do you find that that the surveys reflect the overall population? Because I'm just thinking about people who voluntarily take these surveys might either, kind of be in favor of, government services, or the opposite, just upset.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Ultimately, all we can do to try and overcome any kind of response bias with partaking a survey is to make sure that we do set those demographic quotas to match the electorate. So make sure, we're getting the right mix of ages and partisan and geography and all the different kind of aspects of demographics, as well as I actually think taking this multimodal approach is really helpful in making sure that different types of people will participate, because frankly, as someone in their mid-30s, if a number that calls me, I don't know it, I'm not going to answer it, right? But my 70-year-old parents might actually pick up their landline. So there's just different demographics responding to different modes of outreach. So having that multimodal approach along with those demographic quotas helps us get as representative as possible.
Okay, and one last question. Was there any effort to split this up by geographic region within the county?
We do have that data, yes.
You do have that data. Is that what you said?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just thinking if we wanted to split it off into certain areas for a tax increase, was there a difference in the areas, or do you want to go into that now?
There was some variation by areas. It does kind of, because there is a higher margin of error when you're splitting the sample 4 different ways. And additionally, when the unincorporated area, it's not like the different districts are not kind of the same size exactly.
Right. Okay, so at some point that information is available to us.
Yeah, that information is available. I just
Okay.
wanted to flag that it has a higher margin of error. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Yeah, may I ask a question? I just wanted to piggyback on Chair Haschek's question about who were the outreach, and naturally, again, it's kind of an innate bias of the people who are really excited to answer these questions are the ones more likely to say something. I was curious, you mentioned the demographic and the need to balance an outreach. What kind of, how do we reach out to people who are non-English speakers in our county and in our area? Is that something that the computer takes care of? Is there a poll given in both, whatever their native language is? Is there an effort to reach those communities at all, or is it just the people who always get the same surveys?
This survey was done in English only. So yeah, the survey was done in English only. Typically, among likely voters, when there are larger populations that are non-English speaking, they tend to be a smaller proportion of the likely electorate. So that's why.
That makes sense. I appreciate your help on that. Thank you for making me understand.
Okay. Any other director comments? All right. So, let's see. Let's go to public comment. Okay, any public comment in the chambers? Seeing none, we'll go, or seeing none? Okay, we'll go to online comments. No online Okay, Anne Marie.
Thank you for that information. There were a lot of figures and a lot to take in a short time. Is there a way for the public to have access to that slide presentation? Because I personally and many others are concerned with Caltrans' attempt to want to widen every road and every bridge along the coast. It is clear, based on the Coastal Act, that we can only have 2-lane roads. And so the issue about widening roads is of particular interest to me. And I would like to have access to that study. Is there some way you can put the link to that slide presentation on your webpage?
It will be.
And my other question is, will you then list that as an agenda item and possibly have a ballot measure based on that presentation? Thank you.
So it will be added to the MCOG website along with the other packet materials for today's meeting, the slide deck, regarding, well, I guess we're not really supposed to respond to public comment, but I do, just also for the board's information, to clarify. So this is not an action item for the MCOG board. Any action that's taken would be by the Board of Supervisors, and this will be going before the Board of Supervisors. And last I checked with Howard, he does not have a date yet, but I believe you've talked to the clerk of the board about getting it on a future agenda. March. So it will be going before the Board of Supervisors at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So this is a study. The draft was presented in at the October MCOG board meeting. It is a study to look at potential safety and circulation and access improvements into and through Noyo Harbor for all modes of transportation. This was done because we had heard from members of the community, including former MCOG chair Dan Jurdy, about the increased usage of the harbor and the need for transportation improvements that came about because of that. So we hired the firm of Fair and Peers to prepare the plan for us. That was an extensive public outreach and stakeholder outreach effort. It included multiple on-site public workshops, a two-day charrette, and a lot of direct stakeholder outreach and a technical advisory group. So there were comments that were received both at the MCOG board meeting and at other meetings. It was also presented to the Fort Bragg City Council, the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors, and the Noyo Harbor District. And then comments were received from both MCOG staff and Caltrans. So the consultants took all of those comments and have modified the plan based on those comments. There's a summary that was included in your packet of the most significant changes to the plan. And then the full plan was included, the full updated plan included in the packet as well. So the changes really focused on the most significant changes were regarding added discussion of the analysis that went into the different project ideas and expanding the discussion about the shift away from the concept of a full road extension at the northwest end of Noyo Harbor Drive. That would have been gone up the hill and then a one-way traffic through the harbor. So that was originally assessed as part of the project, but then eventually eliminated from further analysis. And so that discussion was expanded. So those were really the major focuses of the updates to the plan. And I'm happy to give more detail if you'd like or answer questions, but it is on the agenda today for acceptance.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we saw it before here, yes. And then the Board of Supervisors saw it. It's really good to see the stakeholder comments and seeing how each jurisdiction kind of feels about it or what their suggestions were. So are there any other comments from the board here? Okay, we'll go to public comment. Any public comment? None in the chambers? Any online? Anne Marie.
Anne Marie, are you able to make your comment now?
You're muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I read the report and there were several issues that stuck out for me. For one, there were comments on page 8 about the outlet grocery store and basically just repeating what the grocery outlet store owners wanted. And, there's been quite some controversy, and I think it's not a good idea to not have a fully extended road considering additional traffic or tsunamis or fires or traffic accidents and only have this as an emergency access, especially based on the County of Mendocino Coastal Element, Section 4.4, which was adopted in 85 and then looked over in 21, which says under 4.4-3, the county shall develop an evacuation route for the Noyo Harbor area in addition to North Harbor Drive by reopening the road west of Agostinos, and it lists the AP number. For emergency use only, the county shall coordinate evacuation procedures with the U.S. Coast Guard and all concerned law enforcement agencies. I still think that hasn't happened. It's possible right now, maybe for some emergency vehicle if there's a dire issue, but it's not. The Native Americans didn't want that, and that's why it's not going to be a full road extension. The other thing is that still seems that bicycles and pedestrians are really not going to be possible to access the harbor safely from what I was reading. There may be transit connectivity, but it's all up to money and all that. And the water taxi seems like a good idea to me. But what really is a big issue, and it came up with the grocery outlet store, is this intersection of Highway 1 and North Harbor Drive. And Caltrans, to the surprise of most everybody, changed the process where now people can drive from North Harbor Drive, turn left onto the highway, onto the bridge, which is totally crazy. And in that report, that is suggested that that would be changed again. But they were also mentioning that there could be a crosswalk or a roundabout.
Anne-Marie, we're going to need you to wrap it up, please.
Yep, your time
Yes.
is up.
And both those ideas are not going to function. I mean, Caltrans doesn't go.
Mary Rose, you can make your comment now.
Thank you very much. I'm concerned about this study. I live in a neighborhood. I walk around the neighborhood near a grocery outlet. I use the Noyo gas station. I'm watching the increased traffic that comes off Highway 1 and also all the parked big rigs that park outside the hotel on North Harbor Drive because they have to stay somewhere at some hotel where there's parking availability. Quite a few of them use sometimes the area where the parking lot will be for the grocery outlet on the side of the street. None of this is in the study. There's also a little slide on Stable Hillside right across from Princess parking lot. I don't see that in the study. That little landslide was coming down. If you go down North Harbor Drive, I mean, I drive this all the time. And it's getting narrower down to the harbor. And there's some, if you go on the right side, the lanes are so narrow, you have big motorhomes coming down now. And there's people using bicycles and there's workers that are walking to work. So I don't see any of this in the study. For some reason, this study has been just focused on, you know, I don't know what kind of statistics they're using, but I wish I had cameras. I wish I could film some of this. There is some really horrible potential for accidents. I'm surprised there hasn't been one already. I had to wait for people to come. Just the other day, several tourists were walking down North Harbor Drive, about 5 of them. You know, I love the idea that we're trying to plan for this, but I don't see any plans that are making sense, especially with the increase of people now visit Mendocino and all this. People are now sharing YouTube. People are bringing their friends. I mean, we're becoming a go-to destination, but you're not planning for this go-to destination that are going to protect people and make it safe on this one North Harbor Drive. I mean, I was down there as a reporter when emergency vehicles came because of the unfortunate suicides that have happened on the bridge. I mean, you should see what happens. I mean, none of this is in a study. The reports are in the newspaper, but they're not in the study. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other online comments? Okay, so back to the board and the executive director. So tell us what the process is at this point. We're just accepting it?
Yes. So this is, of course, this is a planning document. So it doesn't actually, create money to implement any of these projects. but it hopefully does make it possible for one of the potential implementing agencies, which are all identified in the plan along with each project, to seek funding if they were going to implement one of the recommended projects. I'll also note that the recommended projects do include pedestrian safety improvements going into the harbor. There are ideas for both along North Harbor Drive coming down the hill currently, as well as additional opportunities. So those things are addressed in there, and certainly the narrowness of the roadway has been acknowledged and was one of the factors that led us to undertake this study. So it is just acceptance today, and then the next step for any of these things to move forward would be for one of the implementing agencies to seek funding for implementation, construction type funding.
All right, so do we need a motion to accept it, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll do the roll call vote.
Director Raffanan? I think you...
Yes, sorry, I'm in trouble.
Okay. Director Klein?
Aye.
Director Alanis?
Yes.
Director Hansen? Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Alstrand?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number well, we did 13, correct? And we did 14. We're on to 15.
We're on to 15.
First amendment to fiscal year 25-26 RTPA and COG budget.
Okay, that'll be mine, Janet. North. Trying to get my papers. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me all right now? So this amendment, fairly routine. You have my staff report and some attachments in the packet, a summary of the changes, and also the resolutions that would supersede the old resolutions. And there are a few more items that I would build out the entire packet with. This is what you get. The budget package has all the parts and pieces, and I'll be filling out those if this is approved. So generally speaking, this is fairly routine. It's kind of a cleanup to include some actions we've already taken. We try not to do this more than once a year. Mid-year is a good time to do the amendment, and it pulls together all those things that have been approved. I have an A, B, and C here on the agenda. A is the administration and planning, where the contract amendment was already approved on October 6th, and I thought, while we're at it, let's include the planning overall work program amendment that was adopted in August. That's the first thing. That's pretty straightforward. Number 15B, state transit assistance. That is a new item. I'll explain that. This is a staff proposal to reduce the allocation to MTA simply because we just don't have that money from that particular fund. That comes from fuel taxes. And those, we've been watching those decline. They sort of hit a peak a couple of years ago when we were getting over $1 million. But now we're seeing the actuals. Last year came in a little under $1 million, and now we're seeing the state controller's estimate come down below $1 million. And so what happened in this case was the fiscal year 24-25 revenues came in well short of the estimate, and essentially we had to use up the fund balance that we had carried forward. So we're basically removing that fund balance allocation that doesn't exist in 25-26 fiscal year. So that's our proposal. We don't really have to do that necessarily. I mean, it would the budget would show an over allocation, but we would only, as a practical matter, be releasing to MTA quarterly what revenues actually come in. But it's cleaner to not show the over allocation since we know there's no way we're going to recover that money. So that is staff's recommendation. And 15C, the last one, is the Northern Rural Energy Network, and that is because the whole partnership has amended their budget. So this is reflecting in our budget. They added funds. I think we reported that to you last meeting. And that added some funds for MCOG's energy program, which is nice. So that was a total amount, $320,203 through 2027. I'm only adding here what we expect to use in this fiscal year 25-26. So this budget. So that's essentially what I've got here. Yes, we're only adding $51,000 to the current fiscal year. So you've got my little summary page here is color highlighted, showing the different dates that things were adopted already. And the pink one, the pink shade, is the new proposal about the transit funding. Any questions?
All right, so thank you for that, and certainly we've seen at least A and B before.
Yeah, it's pretty
we talked
straightforward.
about B. So are there any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. All right, we'll go to public comment. None in the chambers, any online? All right, we'll go back to the board. So can we make a motion to approve A, B, and C at one time?
We can do one motion, yes.
Okay, very good. Is there such a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, let's do the roll call vote.
Director Raffanan?
Yes.
Director Klein?
Aye.
Director Alani?
Yes.
Director Hansen?
Yes.
Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Alstrand?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so it passed. Going on to item 16, discussion and direction and possible adoption of the 2026 MCOG board calendar. So,
We
any
didn't
questions?
present a staff report. You've got the attachment in here. It looks pretty much like last year. We have a couple possible transportation tours. Nafili thought we might try to add another one in the spring as well as in the fall. And that's to be determined. So other than that, we're meeting on the first Monday of the month. Most months we don't meet on some of the months with the major holidays. Nothing in January, nothing in July. We do have August kind of in the middle or late in the month. It sort of straddles between June and the next meeting in October. So you can see we don't have a meeting in September either. So it's 9 or 10 times a year.
Okay, any comments from the board? Okay, any public comment? Okay, none in the chamber, any online? All right, back to the board. So probably we should adopt this calendar. Is this just informational?
You could adopt it. We sort of have it down as what direction, possible action. Just you know, some years there's some turnover on the board. This isn't a major election year, so we'll probably have most of the same people. So you could adopt it now.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the calendar?
I'll make the motion to adopt the calendar.
Okay. Very good.
Second.
All right. So we'll vote.
Director Raffanan?
Yes.
Director Klein?
Aye.
Director Alani?
Yes.
Director Hansen? Director Chris?
Yes.
Caltrans Tasha Alstrand?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. So we will recess as a policy advisory committee, reconvene as RTPA. And we'll ratify action of Policy Advisory Committee. Okay. Do we need a motion on that? Yes. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Raffanan?
Yes.
Director Klein? Director Alanis?
Yes.
Director Hansen? Director Hansen?
Yes.
Director Chris?
Yes.
And Chair Haschek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to reports. So we'll go to Caltrans District 1 report.
The fiscal year 26-27 Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program application deadline was Friday, November 21st, and District 1 received a total of 6 applications from applicants in all 4 counties. And the award announcements will be in mid to late May of 2026. An updated milestone report package that contains the lists of Caltrans projects and their progress will be shared in the next couple of weeks. It's been a little while since we've been able to provide one of those, so we can expect to see that in the next few weeks. For the district transit plans, we're moving into year 2 of development, and in the next couple of months, we'll be outlining the draft plans, discussing the approach for phase 2 of engagement, and developing draft existing conditions. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the Mendocino Transit Authority. We don't have.
Just a couple things. The holiday trolley has started here in Ukiah. We'll run through Christmas Eve. And our 3 Gillig all-electric buses begin to be built tomorrow.
Oh, very good. All right, Great Redwood Trail Agency. So we had a retreat last week or the week before. And it was in Hopland. We looked at some of the projects going on in Hopland, and we also discussed long-term strategy, involvement with Native Americans, and the structure of the Great Redwood Trail Agency going forward. There was quite a few new hires there, and so it's really interesting and really positive to see that agency getting built up and ready to take on some big tasks ahead. So we also discussed this issue with exemption for CEQA through, I think it was SB 131, and using the Prop 4 money. So let's see, Great Redwood Trail Agency was granted about $50 million for the work, and so we need the staff to start really working on laying out the foundation and making sure that, as a public agency, that now that we have sufficient funding, that it's really done properly. MCOG staff, summary of meetings.
You have the report in the packet. I don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to administration staff.
Okay, I'll take that. Well, I'm pleased to report that the final signatures on the Joint Powers Amendment were received in October and November. So all 5 member jurisdictions have executed the Joint Powers Amendment. So the last step here for me to do is to gather all those signatures together in the final document and distribute that out to all of the clerks.
Very good. Thank you for that news.
Thank you, everyone, for your efforts with that. Appreciate it.
All the entities that came out and did what they needed to do.
Okay, just a quick report on the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council's meeting of November 13th. We had the Unmet Transit Needs Workshop. That's an annual thing. Kind of kicks off the fiscal year's cycle for the Transportation Development Act and identifying transit needs. So I just have these for reference and I won't go over them, but they identified 7 needs to bring forward. That's for transit services, and also 3 other recommendations for transportation, not necessarily transit services. And we will bring those to the February public hearing at your regular board meeting, February 2nd. So there's still time to get unmet needs in and bring them to MCOG staff here, and we will gather up that testimony and report all of that in the public hearing. So you can write to us or email, or it's preferable to have it in writing. And people can also come to our meeting and just give their testimony in the meeting. So that's coming up. So we still have time to develop that. I think I heard some transit needs today even that could be submitted. So that's all I have on that right now. And on the next item, the retirement and recruitment, well, I did put in a little staff report for you just because I wanted to give a little bit of history, because we've come such a long ways in this time in the last 30 years. So I mean, when I remember starting out when joining this organization, and things were, accounting and things were being done with pencil and ledger paper, and we had dot matrix printouts and things like that. We had fax machines, So now we're using full-on, 21st century tools. So it's just good to see that. And also, I just wanted to express a little appreciation for the other kinds of planning work I was allowed to do. It's just good to get outside the office and network more and meet all the people out in the community and around the state. So I've enjoyed this work, and I feel very thankful. Thank you.
And I do want to say, Janet's talking like it's her last board meeting, but it is not her last board
Well,
meeting.
I will appear.
It is her last as a full-time employee, but I think there will be at least 2 or 3 more board meetings.
I wanted to get this out of the way, just some thoughts, and I'll appear a couple more times, but I won't be putting out the packet anymore. That's special. Nafili's got to find someone to put together all those other things. So, yeah, so I will be seeing you again. That's all I have on that?
Yes, but they will be big shoes to fill. So if you know anybody, send them
put
our
out
way.
the word. Please do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And the list of all the things that have changed through the last 26 years with Dow and Associates.
Yeah.
And really in your work statewide with, EV, electric vehicles, and all that work that you're coordinating and promoting statewide.
It's gone mainstream now, so it's got its own momentum up, which is good to see. But, the North State, we rural counties, we are kind of still a bit left behind. We've got some catching up to do.
Oh.
It's moving forward.
Well, you're very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay.
So similar topic, just under miscellaneous, I do want to report that although it is not Janet's last MCOG board meeting, it is Jody's last MCOG board meeting. So Jody, we are now part of this Northern Rural Energy Network, and one of our partners in that is the Lake Area Planning Council, and so Jody has actually taken a position to work for that program in Lake County, where she actually lives, so it'll be in her own community. So we are excited for her to have that opportunity and get to work in her own community, but we will miss her and very much appreciate all of the work she's done making these board meetings and especially our tours come off without a hitch. So thank you, Jody, and you will be missed, but she's not going too far, fortunately.
Yeah.
Jody's done so much for us, and we hate to let her go, but it's a good move for her. She'll be very good at the next position.
Okay, so next meeting date, February 2nd, 2026. All right. And the MCOG planning staff, work element 5.
Good afternoon, Board. Hector Ortega, Project Analyst with MCOG. Here to give you an update on work element number 5, Mendocino County Sea Level Rise Roadway Impact Study. Per my last update, our community engagement plan materials were being reviewed by MCOG staff and MCDOT and the whole TAG. So I'm happy to report that we've had a meeting with the TAG and all stakeholders involved to approve all of our community engagement plan materials. And to not conflict with the holiday, we're hoping to get the community engagement plan launched at the beginning of 2026, sometime in January. But that's my only update there. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant application submitted to Caltrans.
Yes, so you're going to do this one?
If you want, you can.
Go ahead.
So as Tasha mentioned, District 1 received 6. One of them was from MCOG for a corridor feasibility study in the Willits community from Cropley Lane at the north on State Route 20. So just past Blosser on 20. And then to the south, just south of Walker Road. So if you're coming in off of the bypass right there at the south end, where it goes over the railroad corridor, the GRTA, the Great Redwood Trail Authority, asked that we bring the southern limit to the rail corridor, so because they're looking to have a trailhead from Walker Road to the rail corridor in future plans. And so they were asking if we can do that, to have it studied there. Part of this is to look at a road diet on the south end of Main Street, from, I believe the grant actually says Flower Road Lane, which is something I learned. I didn't know that that was the name of that. I always called it State Route 20. Down to the south intersection by Brown's Corner, and then additional intersection improvements at Blosser and other areas to look at safer pedestrian and bike facilities, and also just to make traffic smoother.
Okay, thank you. Any miscellaneous?
Yeah, under miscellaneous, apologize, Hector Ortega, Project Analyst with MCOG. For work element number 8, our Regional Vehicle Miles Traveled Mitigation Program. Per our last meeting, we were waiting to have a kickoff meeting with Caltrans. We have done that now, and MCOG will now begin the procurement process for a consultant.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Northern Rural Energy Network.
We don't have any of our NREN staff here in the meeting today. You do have a written report in your packet, but there were just a couple items that I wanted to draw to your attention. So there have been some successful, over the last month, some successful outreach activities with the senior centers and at a veterans event here in the Ukiah area. That was with multiple agencies. We have also, MCOG NREN staff has been appointed as the program lead for the workforce education and training programs for the entire Northern Rural Energy Network. So that'll be leading a team for that program. And then the residential programs, including rebate application and processing, the home assessments, and distribution of the energy efficiency kits have been moving along successfully. So those are the highlights from the report that you have in your packet.
Okay, thank you. So MCOG Director reports. Any? Marcia, Director Raffanan?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that we will miss Jody and Janet being at all of our meetings, but it's good to know that you'll still be close by. Okay, and the CalCog delegates.
All right, Chair Haschek and I, in the beginning of November, went to the CalCog delegates meeting down in Palm Desert. And some of the highlights, CalCog is exploring doing a 501(c) or a 501 or C4. So that way they could take donations from philanthropic or other funding sources than the traditional ones that they've been bringing in. And their legislation year in review, they've been following closely Senate Bill or State Bill 375, 79, and 743. And the common theme with all of those, they're all really kind of overlapping planning with transportation to eliminate greenhouse gases. So things like high density housing near transit hubs and other things like that. They also highlighted the discussions around some of the Brown Act changes, so that way people can participate in meetings in non-public places. Yeah, those were the highlights that I got from that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the did you have more?
No, go ahead.
Oh, you know, the legislative year in review, CalCog is involved in so many aspects, everything that's going on in Sacramento that has to do with transportation and the RENA numbers, you know, for housing. And so this, the reform of SB 375 is still a big item. And Darrell Steinberg, who used to be the Senate president, and then he was the mayor of Sacramento, and so he's heading that, and they're trying to reform it because it's just costly and ineffective the way it's implemented. So we'll see more on that. And kind of one of the highlights too was that Heather and I flew to Palm Springs during that time when all the flights were being canceled, and so out of the 90% of the flights that were canceled, we were lucky enough to not have our flights delayed or canceled, so that was a good thing. And with that, for the good of order, we'll adjourn the meeting at 3:26. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Thank you.